So there's one question that gets asked over and over and over again is what's the best theme to use with Elementor? In this video, I'm not going to answer that question. In fact, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to take you through and show you how you don't really need to rely on a theme to actually build your site. So first of all, what are the benefits of using a theme when it comes to dealing with building a website with Elementor? Well, one of the benefits is the fact that you get a lot of pre-built styling and tools and different things built into the theme itself. Headers, footers, all the JavaScript libraries and all those kinds of good things. The negative side is the fact that if you don't use those, they can slow down your website to be using resources that you don't actually need to use. So in this video, we're going to take a look at using the Hello theme, which is basically a blank theme that's supplied by the Elementor developers, and we're going to use that as the basis for creating our new website. Well, my name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, the channel where I help you create beautiful WordPress websites. If this is your first time on the channel, please consider subscribing and smashing that bell icon below to become part of the WP crew and be notified every time new content is added. So if I said I'm going to show you how to build a website in WordPress using Elementor and no theme, why have I gone ahead and installed a theme? Well, one simple thing. WordPress needs to have a theme installed to actually work. Now, we don't need to use it, we don't need to rely upon anything from it, so using a pretty much blank theme gives us the ability to bypass all that junk we don't necessarily need for our website, plus we keep WordPress happy. So the link for the Elementor Hello theme is in the description below, so you can click install that, and then you can follow along with what I'm going to do. Okay, so once we've got that theme installed, let's just jump over to the customizer and see how little we have access to controlling in there. So you can see we've got the site identity, and you can come in and you can insert a logo and you can do a site icon. So that's quite useful. It means we can tap into using that logo, and we can use the logo widget if we want to with our headers, footers and so on. Next up, if we take a look, we've got menus where we can simply choose the menu we want to use and its location. Jump back into there, and we have the final option, which is additional CSS. So if you want to create your own custom CSS to do anything, you can use that inside the theme customizer. Other than that, there is nothing else going on. So it means that the code we've got with our website is pretty minimal to start off with. So we can then just tap into using Elementor and Elementor Pro's templating system to create our own website without the need to worry about the theme taking over. Okay, so let's take a look now at jumping in and start building out those first theme elements. So with Elementor Pro 2.0 and the recent updates, we've now got a full theme building ability built into Elementor. If you take a look, we've got templates on the left hand side, and you can see we've got save templates and theme builder. Now we're going to come back and take a look at using that in a moment. Before we do, I just want to show you what a typical page now looks like using the Hello theme. So we just jump over, you'll see this is basically all we have available. It has the title, the name of the actual site itself, and as you can see in this example, we've got archives. So we have no content on there and pretty much a blank theme. If we come in and we just take a look at the page source, you can see we don't have tons and tons of stuff in there. Now we do have obviously some code, some links through to things like JavaScript libraries and so on, but we need this kind of thing to actually work with Elementor anyway. So it's already a pretty stripped down version to what you'd have if you had a traditional theme like Astra, OceanWP, GeneratePress or anything like that installed. Okay, so let's just jump back over now into the dashboard. I'm going to come over to the template section. We're going to come down to the theme builder area. Once we're in the theme builder, you can see we have the ability now to create our first template. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the header first, then we're going to create the footer. Now I'm not going to go through the process of setting up and designing each of the pages. I'm going to take the benefit of using the Elementor templates to sort of populate the information on each of these different sections. I just want to demonstrate the techniques that you can use to build out your own pages. So let's say add a new template. Let's start off with our footer. So we're going to come down, we're going to say we want a footer. We're going to name this one default footer, and we're going to create our template. Now once we've created our template, that'll take us in where we can choose from any of the predefined blocks, templates, or if we created our own templates, we could actually use those as well. We're going to just take advantage of this template library, and we're going to find a footer that I think is going to be kind of in keeping with what I'm trying to achieve. So let's just take a little look. You can see we've got a range of different options to choose from. Let's come down and take something really simple like this one. We'll just insert that in. That will then download all the assets for that and insert it into our page. Now you can see it's inserted into the page, and we've got this information at the top, which is just some basic filler placeholder text to tell you in the content area, the name of the page that we're currently working on, this example default footer, which is a template, and the site name. These are going to be basically ignored when you actually reference the templates we're going to use for the headers and footers. So don't worry about those. We're going to come down and click on Publish. Once we do that, we can now add a condition. Click on Add a Condition, and you can see we've got the option to include or exclude any of these conditions. And we can stack conditions on top of each other. So if you want to have multiple steps to each condition, you could include or exclude any steps that you wanted to get exactly what you want with any of these templates. Now don't worry too much about that. Again, this is something we're going to keep pretty simple, but those options are there should you need them. So we're going to say that we want to include this footer in our entire site. So we just click on Save and Close, and that now lists that as being the footer. That's the default footer for our site. If we jump back to our test page and just refresh that, we should then see our footer on the page exactly as we'd expect. So that's the first thing done. Next up, we're going to come over and we're going to come back out of Elementor, exit the dashboard. Once we exit the dashboard, we're going to come back into our theme builder again. This time we're going to click on Add New. We're going to choose a header. So we click on Header. We're going to call this Default Header. And click on Create Template. And we can do exactly the same thing again. So we can easily come in and create our own templates, or we can just reference one from the library. Now, just for ease, I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to create your own template for the header. So we'll do is we'll click on X to get rid of this. We've now got the normal default editor of Elementor. So just click and add in a new 2-column single row section at the top. We're going to come to this now. We're going to select the first cell. We'll specify we want this to be content position middle, and we'll do the same for the second cell, just to make sure whatever we place inside there is going to be in the middle of that particular cell and row. So the first thing we're going to do after that is come over. We're going to change the size of this a little bit, and we're going to pull that over to get 25%, 75%. Come back to our widgets on the left hand side. We're going to choose the site logo, and this is where we can tap into using that site logo as part of the customizer. Obviously, if you didn't want to use this, you could easily just drop in an image. It'll work in exactly the same way. Site URL, you can see we can come down and we can just put that to be anything we want in there. So we'll just come in and we can say none, media file, or custom URL. We don't want any captions or anything on there. So we'll leave everything as it is. And we'll just go back in the customizer a little later and we'll set that up to be the actual logo that's going to be used. Just adds a little bit level of flexibility to make our lives easier. Okay, we're going to come back out of here and we're going to come up to Nav menu. I'm going to drag and drop that over to the right hand section. You can see at the moment it says there are no menus on our site. So we'll need to set something up to see anything in there. But for now, all we're going to do is keep this really simple. We'll align it to the right hand side and we'll leave pretty much everything else as is. Hit publish. Again, we take it through to the add condition stage. We'll click on Add Condition and we'll say this is for the entire site. Hit Save and Close, and we've now created our own custom header. We can come back in at any point and edit that, but what we're going to do now is we're going to jump over, set up our menu, and we're going to set up our actual logo. So let's just jump back to the dashboard. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to the customizer under the appearance section, and we'll just insert that simple logo. So the site identity, we're going to come into there, select our logo. We can upload any file we want or choose anything from our media library. So I'm just going to quickly upload a logo. So let's just upload the logo I want to use. So we'll just drag and drop that in there and we'll just name that logo. Hit select and we're going to say we want to skip the cropping on there. And you'll see after a couple of seconds, it now loads in and shows us that that logo is now inserted in the right location into our newly created custom header. So next up, we just need to create the navigation. There's a couple of ways we can create that navigation, but for now we're just going to stay inside the customizer. So we'll just jump back out of here, go to our menu section, and what we'll do is we'll create a new menu. We'll just call this main menu. Obviously you can call it whatever you want. Yes, it's going to be the primary menu, and we'll just click on next. Now we can go through and add the items we want. So we'll just say add items, and we're going to add in all of these pages. Okay, so we've added those pages in. If we want to reorder them, we can do that. So let's just drop the contact underneath. So that looks pretty good. And you can see, we're just going to say we're happy with everything there. So we'll hit publish. And that's dropped in our menu. And you can see now our menu appears on the top right-hand side of our header template. So we've created the header. We've created the footer. Let's just jump back into the header section and just do a couple of tweaks before we take a look at moving on. So I'm going to jump back at the customizer. Come back down to our template section and we're going to say Theme Builder. come into a header section, and we're going to just edit our default header. Once you've got the Elementor editor open, we're just going to do a couple of simple little things. Now obviously if you want to go through and style the way this looks, we can do all that at this point. But for now, we're going to select this entire section. Just we've got the entire header selected. We're going to come up to the style section. We're going to come to the border. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a box shadow on there. We're going to make that very, very subtle. And we're also going to come in and we're going to say we want to put a border type. We're going to put solid in there. We're going to unselect all those. We're going to put a 1 pixel border at the bottom. And we're going to make that one a fairly pale grey. Finally, we're just going to come over and we're going to go to advanced, and we're going to say we're going to add a little bit of padding into the top and the bottom. So we're going to say we're going to put 5 pixels top, 5 pixels bottom, just to give us a bit of breathing space. Like I say, if you want to come over and style your heading, you can your navigation, you can do all of that very easily. You come into your style section, so we can say we want to change the typography on there, and we'll just say we want to put that to a different font, for example. We can say to choose that. We can do things like then we can style it to the font weight that we want. We can change and transform the text. Whatever we want to do, we can do all of those kinds of things. Now, you might not always want to go in and style the text every single time you add a new widget to your design. So you can use Elementor to go through and set up some basic parameters. If we come up to the top left-hand little hamburger menu, click on there, you can see the first two options we have are default colors and default fonts. If we open up the default colors, you can see we've got the primary, secondary, text, and accent colors. So we can change them to anything. So let's just say we didn't want the accent color to be green. We want it to be a darker blue. Well, we can easily do that, and you can see that now changes it. If we come over to our navigation, you can see because the accent color is used for the rollover effect, you can see it now updates and shows that effect as part of our navigation. So very easy to do. You can also choose from any of the predefined color palettes, or like I say, create your own custom palette. We can hit apply. That will then apply that throughout the site. It's a great way of making a global change to anything that references any of those 4 colors. Next up, if we come back out of this, you can see we've got default fonts. So we've got our heading, secondary headline, body text, and accent text. So we said for the primary headline, we didn't want Roboto, we want to use something like Montserrat. Well, we can easily change that. We could change the weight on there then to anything we want. The same for the secondary headline, the body text, and the accent text. So let's just say for the body text, we want to use Open Sans. We'll select that, and we are pretty much good to go. So we've set up some of the basic parameters now that will filter throughout the entire site as and when we develop it, unless it's been overridden by a specific widget and the settings you set in there. So now that we've gone ahead and created our header and footer, we've applied some styling, we've applied some global styling, let's go through and create some content for our first page. Let's come up to our pages section, and we're going to come and take a look at all the pages. Now I've gone ahead and pre-built some blank template pages, so there's nothing in these, they are just placeholders for the menu. So let's go through to our home section first of all. So we're going to come in and edit that. And as you can see, we've got the normal editor. Nothing else is set up because we have no real theme installed, so we have some really sparse options available. Let's just click on Edit with Elementor. Now, like I say, I'm not going to go through the process of designing a page. I've already covered designing pages on tons and tons of videos on this channel, so there are definitely ones to check out in the Elementor playlist. So take a look if you are new to Elementor. So you can see we've got one problem at the moment. We've got the word home, which is the title of our page, stuck right at the top where we don't actually want it. So we need to get rid of that. Very easy to do. All we need to do is come down to the settings section, and you can see it says hide title, and all we're going to do is we're going to hit that, and our title now disappears. And that's a global change. It means that every single page, every single post will have that title hidden for us. So pretty cool. Okay, so we'll hit update on there to make sure that's committed to the site. We're going to come over now and we're going to click on the add a template option. So we're going to click on there. That'll take us through to what we've seen previously. This now allows us to either use blocks to build up a page ourselves piece by piece, or we can just use an entire page template, or thirdly, we could actually use any of the predefined templates we've either imported ourselves or we've created ourselves. We're going to keep this really simple and straightforward. We're going to go through and choose something that we're going to use for this particular example. So what I'm going to do is find a design that I think is kind of in keeping with what I'm looking to create. Once I found that, I'm simply going to hit insert and add that to the site. So let's just find something I think looks pretty cool. Let's go for this one. I like the look of this. We'll hit insert. That will now download all the assets, and then it'll install that and create our new page for us inside our header and footer that we've already set up and created. So there we go. There's our first page created, and placed inside our header and footer without the need to rely upon a theme to create those header and footer areas or to style them. So pretty cool. And before we take a look at this on our demo page, we need to do one thing, and that's set this to be the home page, because currently we have no home page set. It's going to try to look for the archive page, which has all our blog posts or our posts on there, and we don't actually have anything there. So all we need to do is just jump back out of Elementor back to our dashboard. Once we've done that, we're going to come down to our settings, we're going to come down to reading, and in there we can specify that we want to use a static page for our home page, hit our home section, and we're going to click on Save Changes. Now if we come over to our test page and we just refresh this, which will now be our home page, we should then see there's our newly designed home page with our header and footer templates that we've set up and created without the need for relying upon a theme. So that's all pretty cool. But we can go one step further. Let's take a look at how we can adjust that header section so we can have that to have a nice little effect on there. Then we're going to take a look at how we can create custom archive pages and custom post pages to make sure that we don't rely upon the non-existent theme and we have no styling and no control over how things look. So let's take a look at that next. Now I've gone ahead and loaded up the template for the header that we've created. What we're going to do is we're going to come up to the header itself, click on it, we're going to come up to the style section and we're going to set a background color. So we're going to click on classic and we're going to say we want this to be white and we're going to set it to be just slightly transparent. So it means that when we scroll down the page and we make this sticky, which is what we're going to do next, we can make sure we can see what's underneath it a little bit. And this is where the drop shadow and the line really help. Now making any element sticky on the page is very easy with Elementor Pro. Jump over to the Advanced tab. We've got the top section selected, the entire row and 2 columns. We're going to come down to the scrolling effect section and we're going to say sticky. We're going to set that to be top. You'll see nothing really changes, but we get a couple of options. We can specify what devices do we want this to be sticky on. For this example, I don't want them to be on the tablet or the mobile. I just want it to be on the desktop. I can also set an offset and the effects offset, but we're going to leave those as they are. We're going to come to update, hit that. Once that's done, we'll jump over to our test page, refresh, and you'll see nothing looks like it's changed until we start to scroll down the page and you can see that our header now stays in place and is slightly opaque so we can see through it, but not enough to actually obscure the logo and the text that we've got for our navigation. So just a nice visual touch, nothing complex, but it does add that extra little level to this design that we're working with. Okay, so let's take a look now how we create those archive pages and also the actual single post page. So I've hopped back over to the theme builder now and to the template section of Elementor. And as you can see, we've got the single and the archive. Now basically, an archive is where you list all of your posts and a single is where you view the actual contents of that post. Very simple, and it's just kind of keywords that are associated with the way that WordPress is set up by default. So the first thing we're going to do is create the archive page, which will show us a listing of all the posts that we create. So click on archive, and as you can see, again, we're presented with the add new, whatever you're kind of dealing with, archive, single, footer, header, and so on. So say add new archive. You can see it's pre-selected archive because that's what we've chosen to start off with, but you could, if you've chosen the wrong thing, pick up anything of the available template structures we can use. We're going to call this one default archive. Now you can name these things anything you want, and obviously if you're dealing with multiple archives for any reason, you might be creating custom posts and things, then you can set things up to name them logically. Because I'm only actually setting the one up and it's going to be used for everything, then I just use the term default archive, default header, default footer, and so on, just so I know exactly what's going on. They are the basic default ones. Create our template. And you'll see that will take us over now into Elementor again, and we can go through and choose a predefined layout if we want to, or we could choose a template, or we could create a page. So it's entirely up to us what we want to do. Let's keep this really simple and keep it quite straightforward for this particular video. Let's just say we go through and we choose one particular look, and we'll say we want to use this one. So we're going to say insert that. That will now pre-fill the design out, and you can see it automatically populates any posts that I've created, and every post that I add will be added into this section. You can see this style quite nicely, but as always with everything that we have when it comes to dealing with Elementor, we can go in, fine-tune and edit any of these particular sections. So if we wanted to, we can click to edit, and you see that opens up a ton of options. We have cards and classics, so we can change the way things look on there. We can change the number of columns if we want to. We can fine tune and tweak to get everything laid out exactly how we want. I'm going to leave it as it is because, like I say, this is more about how we do these things as opposed to how we style them. So once we finish with that, we hit publish, and again we get to add the condition in. Because it's the default and we want to apply it to everything, we'll say add condition and include all archives. Hit save and close. We've now created our custom archive section. Now the next thing I'm going to do is move on to creating the single post, and then we'll take a look at linking this through and how they all look on the screen. Just come back out of this, exit back to our dashboard. Once we exit the dashboard, we're going to come into the theme builder again. We're going to come this time to the single option. Add new single. I'm going to call this default single. Select the post type. We're going to say this applies to posts. So everything is set up now. It's a single template. It's a post. That's what it's going to apply it to, and we've named it default single. Hit create template. That'll take us through into the area we can choose any of the predefined templates. Again, let's just go through and choose something we think looks pretty cool. I like the look of this one, so we're going to insert this one. If we insert that into the design, we say yes to go past those things, let it download everything, and there we go. Our page design is set up now for our custom single post. Scroll through, we can change anything on there if we want to, but we'll leave it as is. Hit publish, and as you can see, we now have include. We have 2 steps to this particular condition. All posts, and we can go through and fine tune that, but we're going to leave it to all posts and all, so it applies to every single post. Hit save and close, and we are pretty much done on that. So we're going to hop back out of this now, go back to our dashboard. Once we've done that, we're going to come through and we're going to create our new page. Now the way that WordPress works is it needs to have a page that's associated with the blog section and then set up through the settings to actually assign that page to the blog listing. Even though there's no content, it actually uses the archive page we just created, or the archive template. We have to assign that page. Might sound a bit weird, it's just the way that WordPress works. Let's just jump over 2 pages and we'll say add new. And we're going to call this news. That's it, we're just going to hit publish, nothing more than that. So once we've done that, we're going to come over to the settings section. We're going to come down to reading again, like we did when we set up the home page. Again, you can see we've got static page and so on, but we've got the post page currently set to select. Now come on there, and we're going to set that to be news and save our changes. That's all we need to do. So next up, we're going to come over to our appearance and our menus. And inside there, we're just going to add in our new news section, which is our page. Add new. We'll put that where we want. We'll put that next to services. Hit save menu. Then we're going to jump over to our test page and we're going to take a look. So let's refresh that. You can see now we have news. If we click on news, there's our news section, which is our archive page, which we just created. And if we click on any of these articles, it'll then take us through to the blog post page, and we can go through and we can just use that the way we'd expect it to. Now you might notice that at this point, the header section is missing. So we need to go back in and assign that. Now the reason I chose this particular template when it comes to dealing with the single or post page is because the header and the footer are missing. Why? Let's just jump back in and take a look. Come back over, you can see we are back into the post itself, and if we come over to the settings for that, you'll see we've got the page layout is set to Elementor Canvas. Now because we pulled in a pre-built layout, certain things will pop up and say, are you sure you want to assign this? Because it may override some of the things that you want to do. If you click on yes, like we did, one of the things it's done is it's chosen the Elementor Canvas as opposed to default. So once we choose default, it'll put our header and footer back in because it's using our default design templates. So if you scroll down, you see there's our footer back in there. Hope that makes sense. It's one of those things that if you are doing this for yourself and you just use one of these predefined templates and suddenly parts of your site go missing, it can be quite confusing as to where they've gone. This is generally the reason why. So once we've updated that page, if we just jump back over to our test site, you'll see now that our header is all back in there the way you'd expect it to be, along with the footer. So that's how we can pretty much remove the need for using a theme to build your Elementor-based website. Hopefully what's demonstrated is it's not as complicated or as daunting as you may have thought, and also gives you a ton of flexibility. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the video and you learned something from it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, but let me know in the comment section below why you didn't enjoy it. It helps me create better content for you. Now, speak in the comment section below. I'd love to get your feedback on this video and everything else we cover on the channel. So please pop any comments, questions, or feedback into those comments section. As always, if you'd like to support the channel, please consider using any of the affiliate links in the description below. Help support the channel, but doesn't cost you a single penny more. Well, my name's been Paul C, and until next time, take care.